Hi, my name is Matt Dakin, and today we're doing one part of a three-part series on food sovereignty and self-reliance. So there's never been a more important time to be as self-reliant as possible with both your food and your water. We are most likely going to start seeing supply chain disruptions at the stores, and these supply chain disruptions are going to become worldwide, and we're already seeing it in places. We're also going to be dealing with access problems getting into stores due to medical passports, possibly, especially for those that haven't been jabbed. So it has never been more important to be as self-reliant as possible, and so you can take care of your own food needs and water needs. And my colleague here, Paula Pratt, is going to show you what she does and different ways to maximize your food storage. So here's Paula.
Hey, thanks so much, Matt. Appreciate that. So let's see, when this whole pandemic got started, people were out buying toilet paper. First thing on my mind was food. So if you could bring this over here a little bit, Matt, what I did was I first went out and I started buying bulk goods, bulk dry goods. So like 25-pound bags of lentils, red, green, yellow lentils, and rice and beans and flour and all bunch of dry goods. You can buy them in 25-pound bags, cornmeal, all organic. And then you want to get a bunch of buckets. I went out and bought a bunch of food grade buckets and food grade lids with gaskets in them so that you can seal them. Got a bunch of jars, large half-gallon jars, and got some small pint jars. And went out, got a food packing machine, and got a bunch of these packages to prepare and save food in. Also went out and got a nitrogen tank. I bought this nitrogen tank on Craigslist for 50 bucks. If you don't find one on Craigslist, then you can just go to your local welder's supply store and buy one there. And then you can get them filled up, this size tank, about 30 bucks. And then I bought a regulator here. It's a specialized regulator for a nitrogen tank. This was about 30 bucks. And then a gun, food packing gun. This was about 20, 25 bucks. So for this whole like nitrogen system here, and we use the nitrogen to displace the oxygen, and that's what preserves the food. So I'm going to show you how to do a couple of these right now. Let's do a bucket together. Right down here, I've got a bucket of rice. And what I did with all of the rice was I froze it. I froze it for 3 days. There's like little bugs and things in there that can ruin your food for long-term storage. So whenever you're doing anything like rice or flour, you want to freeze it for 3 days. Okay, so it kills all the bugs. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in here. You sterilize your bucket first. I got rice in this one here. Sterilize your bucket. And then you're going to go in and you're going to shoot the nitrogen into the bucket and then up to the top. Boom, just like that. Then you got to get a mallet. I learned the hard way, you need to have a mallet. Hammer it down. This way it seals it so that's good for, this bucket right here is good for 20, 25 years. So next thing I want to show you is over here. For the large buckets are great for large volumes, but you want to be able to have smaller volumes. So I got these totes right here, and I started doing smaller packages like this. And so what you want to do is you always want to label what it is that you're packing and the date that you packed it on. And whenever you do buckets like this, bins, you want to make sure that you have a list, an inventory list of what's in your bin. So, okay, you got, let's leave that there. All right, so over here, I'd like to say that these half-gallon, you want to sterilize your half-gallon buckets. You might want to come a little closer, I don't know. Great. These half-gallon jars, so you want to sterilize them, fill them up. Again, it's just the same thing. You take your nitrogen gun and then you just put it in like this, all the way up to the top. And then the caps, you want to put the caps in hot water. It's because that little rubber around the top of the cap will get soft. And then when it's warm, you pull it, you stick it on the top, boom, like that. Seal on the top, and it'll create a natural seal. And these are also good for decades, literally. So you can put any kind of dry goods, nuts, beans. And then on these small ones, I did pints of a whole bunch of different kinds of spices. Because you don't want to get food fatigue. And, you know, everybody needs a little spice in their life. So all of these are filled with spices. You can fill them with whatever you want. And then I wanted, if you can come around here just a little bit, what are you going to do? I want to show you how I do the smaller packages like this in a seal meal. These are organic French green lentils. So I fill up the bag about so full. Then you're going to stick them in here. We're going to pull the air out. Come up just a hair. We're going to pull the air out, and then we're going to open it back up, and we're going to shoot it with nitrogen, and then seal it back up. That way, we're displacing any excess air or oxygen that's in this bag with nitrogen, and it'll keep it preserved like decades, literally. So, there we go. Just like that. See how it's all tight and hard? We're just going to cut the corner off. That lets it breathe again. We're going to take the nitrogen gun, stick it down in, fill up the bag, and then stick it back in here like this. And now it's going to pull out the excess nitrogen, and it'll leave it nice and either tight or loose. It doesn't matter if there's any excess air in here, because it'll be nitrogen and it'll preserve it no matter what. So this way, we've got a storage of food here that's easy, it's accessible, it's smaller than the buckets, and it'll be good for 20-25 years. So we're just going to go ahead and write what it is, French green lentils, date it, and there you have it. So for about $100 or so, you can get a nitrogen tank. And I think the big message that I want to share with you today is that it's important that we each individually take measure to store food for the future, for ourselves, but not just for ourselves, but for our families, for our neighborhoods, for our towns, for the regions that we live in, so that we're not just taking care of ourselves, but we're actually thinking about food sovereignty and food preparedness in the regions that we're living in. That way that when we do run out of food stores or food supplies, that, you know, they don't all come, all the people don't come to one place, that we actually have thought about this in small towns. We can build up food sovereignty and food security if we start planning now. So that's the message for today. Thanks so much for being here and listening, and I encourage you all to go out, get yourself or your family or your neighborhood or your town or your organization a nitrogen tank and some buckets and some supplies to start saving food today. Thanks.